Oh, good afternoon, everybody. It is the Sunday after Thanksgiving, and Scott Strickland did what everybody wanted him to do. Hire John Summerall, the Tulane coach, and David Caldwell, the former Jacksonville Jaguars GM, who was at the Eagles, is now with the Gators. Graham, I did not get to talk to you yesterday. The Gators get a nice win over Florida State. It was a Jaden Ball game. He runs for 266. An average of 7 yards per carry. His longest run was 22 yards, which is pretty crazy to think about. John Sumrall was the favorite yesterday for most reports. He gets hired today. David Caldwell is the GM. You're a big Jags fan. How ecstatic were you of the two hires from what you heard today? Little stank. Is it Lil Stank or Big Stank?
That's just stanky, bro. That's just. I thought Dave Caldwell was out of my life forever. Weasel finds his way back. I mean, come on, bro. Now look. In all seriousness, the GM college job is very different from an NFL GM job. So, dude, I don't know. I mean, he's never done the position before. I know that he's been in the NFL since he left the Jags. The whole college GM thing is kind of brand new, anyways.
Go ahead.
There
we go.
I don't know yet how much that hire matter. I gotta wait for the Caldwell stuff. I mean, Jaguar stuff. He might be horrible. He might be great. He might not really be of significance. I don't really know what it's going to look like yet. I mean, I would assume would his first kind of foremost responsibility not be to connect with boosters, figure out what we're looking at NIL fund wise, putting that together with revenue share that's coming up, and do everything in his power to retain the top talent on this team that you might be worried about departing, right? Isn't that first and foremost? That's the number one thing on the agenda, correct? For the Dave Caldwell side. I'll get to something in a second, but.
Yeah, for the salary, mainly the GM. I'm trying to find who put this out. Basically, the GM, when Caldwell got hired, he's going to handle the NIL and the cap. Money. He basically handled the money situation on that side.
So, but pairing that with retaining and then going out and getting more talent on the roster is where I'm curious this thing is going to land, because here's the thing, that this is a really, really unique situation, and it's very different from when Dan Mullen departed. Because when Dan Mullen left, the main reason he got fired was the recruiting had fallen off, and they just didn't have good enough players. So first on the agenda for Billy Napier, which is one of the few things that he actually did well in his time here, was he had to go mostly through high school at that time, but also somewhat through the portal. He had to go get some talent. He had to go get some dudes that can play in a bunch of key positions. I would say now the more important thing is to keep dudes that can play in a bunch of key positions. There's a lot of looming decisions, man, for Miles Graham and for Vernell Brown III and for DJ Lagway and for Dallas Wilson and for Jaden Ball. Like, these guys have big decisions to make, and that's going to really, really, really play a huge factor in what type of roster Florida's going to be looking at. Because if you can keep most of your top guys, I think it's unrealistic to expect to keep all of them. But if you can keep the majority of this crew together, like the young nucleus of guys that you can theoretically get excited about to start next season, then there's no reason to be pretty optimistic if Summerall turns out to be a halfway decent coach, because you're going to have a roster that can compete with most everybody you're playing. Now, mass exodus, and we hear that Dallas Wilson's out, and we hear that Jaden Ball is going to head somewhere, because, I mean, Jaden Ball, listen, guys, like, I hope he stays. I think he's a Gator. But if you don't think this offseason that Ohio State's going to be calling and Notre Dame going to be calling, and Alabama's going to be calling. You're crazy if you don't think that they're going to be hitting his line. So, and I think he would be crazy not to at least listen to it and entertain it and see what's going on. So all that said, man, like that's the number one thing on the GM side that I'm curious to see how that pans out. We've been talking about this for weeks now, Dylan, knowing that they were going to bring whoever it was going to be in. But they just the step one in the new regime is they got to keep some of these really good players on the roster.
Yeah, and we're going to know pretty quick because the transfer portal window opens this week.
I agree.
So we're going to get, this isn't going to be something where it's, 3 weeks down the road, they have time. No, this is Summerall coaches his conference championship game Friday night. Or at least that's the word right now. And then after that game, you expect him to come to Florida, and you got to hire a staff one, and then do everything you just said, and hopefully retain your players because, the roster looks good. But I mean, this new day and age of college football, your roster really doesn't mean anything from what it is right now to what it's going to be, at least looking in the spring.
It's completely year to year at this point. Now again, everybody hear me. This is not me saying they're going to keep everybody. I don't believe they're going to keep everybody. I mean, coaching staffs with continuity don't keep everybody, much less when a coach gets fired. And like with a good example, Tank Hawkins, we know he's gone.
Yeah.
He ain't sticking around. Eugene Wilson, also interesting decision. I didn't mention him a second ago. That's going to be an interesting decision because he could declare for the draft, and he'd probably be like a mid-round pick at this point.
Maybe at best a fourth rounder. I'd say at best.
So you would think it's in his best interest to come back to school, but does that mean at Florida? That's another interesting one. I'm kind of curious to see where his decision falls. Just a lot of decisions, and I need the majority of those to go in Florida's favor. That's going to be my first kind of litmus test for how this new regime is doing and what I like or dislike about what's going on. That's on the GM, the money side, because money's going to play a huge factor into that, obviously. On the coaching side, Dylan, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I have not watched a lot of Tulane football over the last couple of
Stop it. You just get off the chat, man.
I know.
That's ridiculous.
Casual alert. I have not broken down Tulane film. I don't know, man. Like, look, I know you and I weren't crazy about it the other day because it wasn't Lane Kiffin. And a lot of the fan base is going to feel that way. I still kind of feel that way. But we got to give him a fair shot. He is the coach now. Like, at some point, we got to come down to earth and be realistic and be objective about this and say what we like and don't like and hope that the things we don't like don't end up being a big concern. I hope the things we like end up really panning out for Florida. Now, being honest, Dylan, because this is just how the hamster wheel has been at Florida. I tend to think if we fast forward 3 to 4 years, like we said the other day, we're going to be having the same conversation. But hopefully not. Let's all we can do is try to drink the Kool-Aid in the meantime and see if there's anything good going on. Your thoughts on Summerall? I don't have a lot right now, to be honest. Like, I got to kind of look more into it and see, but I'm not going to tell you this is a home run or this is a disaster. I just don't know it. It's like Billy Napier, bro. I had heard of John Summerall. I knew who he was. When they hired Billy Napier, I had never heard of Billy Napier until like the day before they hired him. So, like, it's just kind of a crapshoot right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other. I know most of the fans hate the hire. I don't know if it's because I think it's more of they can't stand Scott Strickland and how he botched this entire hiring cycle. Yeah. I mean, the job has been open since mid-October, and for a month, for about 4 to 5 weeks, it was Lane Kiffin we're going after him. Okay, he is probably going to take the job. He's more than likely going to take the job. And then the final week, he got botched, it fell through. And then Florida was left searching. And then in that same time span, everyone's signing extensions like Clark Lee and Eli Drinkwitz. And then Florida's basically left to settle what feels like for John Sumrall. I really don't have one big opinion or the other. I will say if you look at his stats from what he did from his two years at Tulane and 2 years at Troy, it is almost identical to what Napier did in his time at Louisiana. It's almost like Napier's the offensive guy and Summerall is the defensive guy.
Scott Strickland has a type when he hires coaches. That much I know. That man has, and I think the main thing to be frustrated about, Dylan, is like when they fired Billy Napier and they hired the search firm Turnkey to help them make this hire. I don't really know what they hired Turnkey for, because this is probably the same hire that Strickland just would have made on his own. Like, I don't know. I don't really know the difference, man. Like, what you hired them to go get Tulane's coach?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. And like, Scott Strickland is damn happy about it.
I'm sure he is. But when you go hire a search firm, that tells me that you're trying to go get a big fish. That tells me you're trying to go get Lane Kiffin or whoever else it may be. You're trying to go take someone from their job. Like, that's what gave me confidence that, okay, if it ain't Lane, it's going to be like Lincoln Riley or somebody. So, and clearly that's not what happened. They just went and got the most obvious candidate from that point. But I was thinking about this the other day, Dylan. This is like kind of off track, but like still in the same ballpark of what we're talking about. Why is Florida in particular just completely uninterested in looking at coordinators anymore?
Well, because here's the thing. Scott Strickland has to know coordinators that are the up and coming to go get him. And do you have faith that Scott Strickland knows who the next up and coming coordinator is?
No, that is fair. Because I think what's happened is, like, I guess with the NIL the way it is, with portal the way it is, and with how much of a CEO type that a coach has to be, whether he's that or not, I think that Strickland might just have a fear of going and getting a coordinator that has not been the head man before and giving him a job this big. And I understand that. That's a reasonable concern. But at the same time, like, who's the best coach in the sport right now?
It's hard not to say Kirby Smart.
Okay. What was he before he took the head job at Georgia?
He was the coordinator.
Who is the second best coach in the sport?
I mean, all the coaches would be Dan Lanning, who's been a coordinator before he got the head job. Ryan Day, who was the coordinator before he got the head job.
If I did not leave you, if I didn't lead you down that path of coordinators, because I kind of set you up to answer it that way, obviously. But if I had just said off rip, who are the best three coaches in the sport? You probably would have said, in any which order, Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, and Dan Lanning. All of them were coordinators before they got hired at their current job. Now, that's not me saying that that's how it's going to be every single time, but that is me saying that it's clearly a viable option to look at. But Strickland doesn't want to do, and it's like, look, if the Lane thing, you got out of the Lane sweepstakes, we've heard a million different reasons of what happened and blah 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 blah. But if you're not going to go big game hunting like that, then at least don't do the exact thing that you just did that made you fall on your face. At least try something different. And this is why I'm bringing up the coordinator thing. It's like, at least go some different route and just see what happens. And look, again, back to what we were originally talking about, because we did this podcast last week, bitching about all this. I bring all this up to hopefully get across to the listeners that, like, we are in no way excusing Scott Strickland. We both, I think, would prefer Scott Strickland no longer be the AD at Florida. But I think you can say all that and feel that way and have those opinions and then also say, okay, well, Summerall's here. We got to give him a shot. Summerall didn't hire himself, right? Like, he got a job that he was obviously going to say yes to, and he took it. So, like, it's kind of counterintuitive now to root for him to lose. So, because I still think until Florida gets a president, I don't know that Scott Strickland being out of here is very realistic at all. And if they end up hiring a president that's not a big sports person, then I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. So, anyways, that's kind of a lot of thoughts there, but I think we gotta all we can really do is try to give Summerall a fair shake here.
Yeah, he's a defensive guy. He's been a linebackers coach. He's been at DC. One note, somebody that was on staff at Tulane, you probably don't know him. Bam Hardman. He used to play at Florida. He played from 99 to 02, I believe. He was a really good player for them. Played in the league for a little bit. He's been a coach. He was a coach at Troy for about 9 years, and then went with Summerall to Tulane. Looks like he is going to go with Summerall. Not official yet. I just know personally. I know him. I coach high school football for the people that don't know, and he's done a pretty good job of recruiting high school kids in Jacksonville and other areas, and been one of the reasons why Troy was good for those years. So that's one person that might come with him from Tulane. I saw Mark Long, because everybody's thinking Billy Napier 2.0, and the main reason that a lot of people couldn't stand Napier, for one of the many reasons, was that Napier continued, when he wanted to hire coaches, bring in G5 guys that he knew from his past. And Mark Long said that's not going to be the case. So with that being a backdrop, the biggest question is going to be, who's the offensive coordinator? Because you feel confident defensive head coach. The defense is going to be fine. Hopefully those guys return on the defensive side. I mean, those guys, there's a lot of young guys, the true freshmen, that played good yesterday. I know it was Florida State. There's a lot of true freshmen that played in the secondary. Jaden Woods being one of them. In the front seven, Miles Graham being another one that has to return. But the offensive coordinator is by far and away probably the biggest question right now. And it's got to be good. He's already talked about it already, talking about, you're at Florida and you can't, you want to be, explosive, and you want to win a certain type of way. So you would expect that hire to be sometime in the next couple of days.
Yes. And look, if it is like big game hunting with the staff, and he's not doing weird shit like just hiring 100 people nobody's ever heard of for no reason, then good, great. In all reality, like, we kind of know what's going to happen here, right? Like, we're going to drink the Kool-Aid. We're going to figure out a way to drink the Kool-Aid once we all kind of come down from the frustration over the Kiffin stuff. We're going to drink the Kool-Aid. We're going to love Summerall by the summer. And we're going to get really excited. And then we won't truly know anything until toe meets leather in August/September of next year. So that said, something else I wanted to bring up in regards to next year, Dylan. I listened. I hadn't listened last night, but on the way, on the drive this morning, I was driving back from Tampa this morning. I listened to the press conferences from yesterday after the game. Bro, DJ Lagway does not sound like a guy that plans on going anywhere. And what for better or for worse, it sounds like the way that he spoke in that press conference and kind of the words he was using, it sounded like, I'm here if the next coach will have me, is the way that I took it. Yeah, agree or disagree?
Yeah, I don't think he's leaving.
I don't think
I have to pick one.
Because I don't know, like, the way that I was just talking about how Ohio State and Bama and all of them going to be calling Jaden Ball, I don't know if those same numbers are going to ring for DJ Lagway anyways.
Yeah, that'd be a no.
I don't know that, because I would assume, unless Summerall just hates Lagway, which I don't know, but time will tell his thoughts on him as we move forward here. And more importantly, to your point, the OC's thoughts whenever they bring in one. Unless they just can't stand him and they, have some portal guy that they got their eyes on or whatever it might be. At this point, I feel like it's at least a 50% chance, if not higher, that DJ Lagway is going to be starting quarterback for the Gators in 2026, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something. I mean, I have no idea. I'm just speculating. I'm not saying this is a fact, but I'm pretty sure that the way that his money situation set up, that he's kind of tied in to Florida, with all the the stuff he has, and regardless if he stays or not, you gotta get a quarterback from the portal. You have to get a A
Yeah,
quarterback from the portal that is ready to go, not some developmental dude. You have to get a guy that is ready to go and be a starter if possible day one.
yes, I agree with that. To the money thing a minute ago, like I agree with you that the financial commitments are kind of tying him here, but the more important thing is I don't think he's going to have suitors willing to buy him out of that.
No.
Because that's how it works, right? Like all these NIL contracts are binding, but basically all it is there's a buyout fee, and if another school wants you that bad, they'll just pay the buyout fee. So it's still supply and demand, just like anything else. But to your point, I do agree that regardless, they need to bring in a portal QB that can legitimately push for that job. Unless they think Tramel Jones is that guy, which I don't know. We haven't really gotten to see Tramel Jones in like a true fashion. We saw him that half against Kentucky where the offense was a disaster anyways, and then against Long Island, which was a middle school team. So we haven't really seen much of him. I'm curious what happens with him because with Tramel Jones, there's all domino effect, as everybody knows. With Tramel Jones, if they do bring in a portal QB and DJ stays, then Tramel Jones probably leaves, right? Like, because then the math is not mathing for him to ever be the starter here. So I'm curious how that will go. The main, like I said at the beginning of the show, like with the quarterback position, everything else, I'm just really interested to see who's able to be retained of all the guys that we know that we just talked through. Really, really, really hope they can figure out a way to keep Dallas Wilson because that is a man among boys. And shoot, man, like I won't say that I'm excited, ecstatic, over the moon. They just got this home run hire. I'm not going to say that, but at the very least, I can at least kind of breathe a breath of fresh air today, and at least I can figure out a way to have some newfound hope for my football team, and at least be like cheering for them and have somewhat reason to believe that they're going to go into next year with a lot of optimism and positivity, and we'll see what happens. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, this was one of the weirdest coaching cycles because you have all these big-time jobs open, and it feels like there was only one big fish that left one spot, went to another. That was Lane Kiffin, and every other coach that was hired. Memphis coach went to Arkansas. USF's coach went to Auburn. Tulane's coach is going to Florida. Penn State's still open. James Franklin, I guess what you consider the other big fish, he's at Virginia Tech, that most of us know. And, it seems like that's pretty much going to be staying put, and there's not going to be this crazy carousel that we saw 4 years ago with Lincoln Riley going to USC and Brian Kelly going to LSU. So, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we could be Florida State. We could be, feeling god-awful terrible about our team, not having any idea what the coaching staff looks like coordinator-wise, and pretty much having a good feeling that your coach is going to be fired next year. So, Florida wasn't feeling good pretty much the entire time until they rattled off 2 good wins against Ole Miss and LSU, and then, all hope changed from there. But change has come, and we'll see. I don't feel too great one way or the other. I'm not, completely down like most Gator fans, but I'm not on cloud 9 like some people are. Like, there's a lot of people, I say a lot, depending on who you listen to. And, I see a little bit of stuff on Twitter, like from Cole Kublik and others. I think it's a home run hire. But like you said, we'll wait and see.
I don't care about that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, must
go back and look at late 2021 and early 2022. Everybody talked about Billy Napier, like this guy was going to reinvent college football. So those guys, man, they think every hire is a home run hire. They always say it's good. So I'm done with all that.
Well, and most of that too is because they have a relationship with the coach and they want him to succeed, and it's understandable.
Of course it is. Yeah, I get it, and you and I both understand how the game is played. But it's like, when's the last time they said Florida didn't make a home run hire? Will was supposed to be this great hire. Jim McElwain was supposed to be this great hire. Dan Mullen, Billy, like these guys are all supposed to be these phenomenal hires. And then 3 to 4 years down the road, when they get fired and they're terrible, those guys all change their tune. And magically, they're like, yeah, it just hadn't really been working out there. He just wasn't the guy for him. It just wasn't a good fit. It's like, oh, well, you thought he was a hand and glove fit
Yeah.
years ago. So
I'll say this will be the last thing I say before if you want to add anything. Most G5 coaches, when they get to a Power Four or Power Four now, a big boys school, what's made them successful all those years, it seems like there's a lot of times they'll get to a big boys school and then they'll change like what makes them good. And I hope that doesn't happen. I hope like what made him good at Troy and at Tulane, and the reason they hired him is the reason he continues to have success. I don't want him, I don't know too much about him. It's only, he's only had the job for 4 hours, 5 hours. By the way, he has a press conference with Scott Strickland tomorrow at 3:15 for the ones that are interested. I don't want him to now reinvent himself and change everything that made him successful at previous jobs and now try to change everything. Now he's at a big time school.
Totally agree. You got to be you, whatever it is, right? Like you got to be yourself. Like I think Kirby Smart's a good example of that. Like Kirby Smart is obviously, again, we were talking about like one of the most successful and probably the best current coach in the sport. He took a lot of Saban principles. Like he runs his program a lot like Saban did at Bama, but he's still him. He talks more shit than Saban ever did. Like he's goofier and more animated on the sideline than Saban ever was. Like he's still himself, right? Like he took the principles he liked and wanted to copy and paste, but he also is him, right? Like he's not just like, this is what Nick would do in every situation. He's a good example of what you're talking about. Like you got to be you, and you got to be what's made you good up to that point. You got to be authentic. You know this, you coach. Like players smell fraud from a mile away. You got to be yourself. The one thing I don't know, I got to do more research on it because to your point, he's had the job for, he's had a cup of coffee so far with the Gators. That's about it. Is Sumrall like a rah, like
they say he's like a Dan Lanning, very passionate. Good. Like Spurrier put out a statement saying, "Hang on, it was something about he's going to bring a lot of energy and not be flat," and he was kind of taking a shot at Napier. Hang on, let me pull up exactly what I saw. Matt Hayes tweet. Okay, Spurrier. I'm 100% supportive of the hiring of Coach Sumrall. He is an excellent choice and has the track record to be proven. Yada yada yada. Good coach. He is coaching his 4th straight league championship game Friday night. He's a proven winner, and he is going to bring a little more fire and emotion to our team.
Good. That's what I want. I want I'm going to say it. I want a motherfucker. Like, I want somebody who talks their shit, who gets in people's faces, who chews out the refs during the game, who fires the boys up before the game. I want that guy. I want a scrappy SOB, man. I'm so sick of the nice guy stuff. So sick of it, bro. Like, that stuff, it bothers me to my core when a coach has no swag, no attitude, no edge. It bothers me so much because it's like, how do you expect these players on the field to play with an attitude and an edge when you can't get attitude and edge out of a paper bag, bro? Like, it bothered me so much with Billy Napier. It's the number one thing I didn't like about him. And I'm glad we got some juice back in the program if that's how Summerall is.
Yeah, not only was Napier probably the worst coach that's ever going to coach at Florida in our lifetime, he was probably the most boring coach at the podium.
He sounded like a history teacher up there, dude. He sounded like the most – everybody had that teacher. The most boring teacher that you had like first or second period in class. It was always early in the morning. It's like at 8:30 in the morning or something. And this teacher is just rambling on and on about biology or something. And they're telling you that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. And you're sitting there just following the That's how Napier was when he talked about we got to execute a little bit better in the red area.
Right, we got to execute a little better. Got to make plays.
I don't know why, but that just bothered me. It's not the red area; it's the red zone. Nobody calls it the red area. I've never heard anybody else call it the red area. Just be normal. Just say things normally.
maybe, hopefully, we can have with this new coach, we can have someone that's actually going to name a coordinator, and it's not going to be a collaborative effort. And and call and name a special teams coordinator, and not call him a game changer.
Yeah, I'm done with the democracy on a coaching staff.
Oh, you want democracy over?
In football, yes.
So you want communism?
No, I want
Okay.
I want an offensive coordinator, and he is in charge, and he calls plays. I want a defensive coordinator, and he is in charge, and he calls plays. Sumrall might call plays on the defense. I don't know what he likes to do, but whatever. But I want it to be very obvious who does what. I don't want a bunch of fake-ass coaching titles that don't mean anything. And to your point, a game-changer shut up. You're the special teams coordinator, and you need to be able to count to 11. If you can't count to 11, you can't coach here. That's what I want.
Yeah, someone dropped in the chat said, I hope we kick LSU's ass next year. We don't play them.
Did you see Rob? Rob said it's reported that Sumrall is hiring 3 O-line coaches.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to have the left tackle coach, the right tackle coach, and then the interior O-line coach. God.
But for real, man, like look, that is step one, is all this nonsense that was supposed to reinvent college football, Billy Napier. Throw that shit out the window, bro. I'm so sick of that, man. Like, I don't want a coaching staff. I don't want more coaches than players. I don't want that anymore. I don't want dudes with fake-ass titles, like I just said. I don't want it, because here was the thing. We already talked about this, and I don't mean to bring up more Billy Napier stuff. That's not what we're talking about anymore. But
please do.
but
I miss him dearly.
But it used to be like something that always used to be just so like it would just flabbergast me every time was this guy will hire anyone, but he won't delegate anything important. Like, he will hire. I mean, dude, if you and I asked for a job, he'd hire you and me. But he's gonna coach the quarterbacks. He's gonna call the plays. He's gonna do everything clock management wise. Like, he's gonna do every last thing that matters when it comes to winning a football game on Saturday. But he's gonna have his 100 closest friends on the sideline doing nothing, not even counting to 11. And it's like, if you're gonna hire that many people, have them do something. And he just never did that. So whatever. Again, beside the point. It's in the past. Again, I need a dictatorship. I need this guy as the OC. He calls the plays. And then this other guy is the quarterback's coach. That is what he does. This other guy is the receivers coach. That is what he does. And it just needs to be plain and obvious. We have one O-line coach, and he coaches the offensive line. That is what he does. That is his job title. And I just need it to be clean across the board. Just give me a regular coaching staff. Give me a regular coaching staff, and give me a dude that wants to compete. Give me a dude that doesn't meet Kirby Smart at midfield in Florida, Georgia, and act like it's just another day at the ballpark. Every damn year, we hear some type of speech with Kirby Smart before the Gator game, and he's never been more hype in his life. He's pissed off. I mean, you think he's going to pass out. He's yelling so hard at his team before they play the Florida Gators. I need a guy that wants to do similar stuff. I need a guy that hates Georgia. I need a guy that hates Florida State. Like, give me some of that back, bro. You felt it. You felt it yesterday with Billy Gonzalez. They laid an absolute egg against Tennessee. It was horrible. It was gross. It was disgusting. You and I were at the game, whatever. You could tell the Florida State game meant something to Billy G. I mean, this dude has been at Florida through like 87 different coaching staffs. He's been here for a long time. That guy wants to kick the shit out of Florida State every time he plays them, and I respected that. They showed up, and it was never close. It was belt. And that's what happens when you have a coach that cares.
And yet he wanted Jaden Ball to slide at the end. Jaden Ball was like, come on, we hate these guys. I will score this last touchdown.
And if I didn't already love 13 enough, bro, I would die for 13, man. I love him. So he's one of my favorite Gators. Even if he does transfer, as long as he don't go to a rival, which I don't think he would do. And I don't think he's going to be in orange and blue next year. But just in general, man, like, you talk about a great Gator, like somebody that 10, 15, 20 years down the line, like, we're going to look back and appreciate what he did, even though this era of football has been bad. Number 13, man. Props to Jaden Ball, bro.
He was the only person from game 1 to game 12 that was a consistent, really good player and played every day. And played every day.
Ass off too, bro. He ran every last down like it was his last, man. And he's very similar to how Dameon Pierce was at the end of the Mullen era. Like, it was bad, it was gross, a tough season. 27 still ran his ass off. He didn't care. And Jaden Ball is the same way, and I respect the hell out of him for that. I hope Jaden Ball comes back for one more year next year, plays his ass off as a key piece in John Summerall's first season, helps propel us to some success. And then I hope he's a first-round draft as elite success in the NFL, man.
Yep. So the next couple of days, hopefully we get a coordinator. Hopefully we'll know some more on who's transferring, who's staying, who's leaving, and that'll be that. So as of today, John Summerall's hired. David Caldwell's hired as a GM. Like, subscribe to the channel. I had a goal yesterday, Graham. We have 497 subscribers. I want to get to 500. We're at like 530. So we're getting so close to being YouTube famous. So that's my main goal in life, to be YouTubers and just do a lot of dumb stuff.
Should we hire a YouTube coordinator?
Yeah, for 100% discount.
Will they call the plays?
They'll probably just look at like NCAA and just kind of go from there. I mean, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. So, all right.
Real topic, and I'll let you go. I'm sorry. Last real topic. We'll make this really fast. Gun to your head, yes or no? Do you want DJ Lagwood to be your starting quarterback in 2026? Do you want him to? Dylan, like, not will he? Do you want him to? No.
Nah.
I think I agree.
Yeah. I mean, apparently he talked about. I didn't.
He let 1 or 2 interceptions turn into 4 way too often. You just can't do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like
practice and he'll train, he'll get back in shape and all, and that's fine. But mentally, man, I did not like what I saw this year, and I don't know that you shake that.
Yeah, he was Eddie Lacy. He was the fat Eddie Lacy of quarterbacks this year, which is not good.
But like we all know the issues. He didn't have an off season. He was out of shape. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, even if those things weren't true, like even if he was in shape, even if he was running better, like how much different would it have been? We would have made.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Games like I don't think it would have made a huge difference. I kind of agree. I think you got a new coach. This is kind of as good a time as ever to kind of wipe the slate clean and move forward with somebody new in a new era. I agree. All right, sorry, we hadn't really like gotten into that, so I just wanted to.
Yeah, no, that's fair. My iPad's about to die, so that was why I'm trying to wrap this up. And we've almost went 40 minutes, so. All right, well, we'll catch you on in a couple of days, and we might have a guest this week. May or may not. Just be on the eye. That's why you guys subscribe, people. Subscribe on the YouTube Denmark.